All right, buckle up, everybody, because we are diving deep today.
Into the deep end, huh?
Huh?
Huh.
You could say that.
Always exciting.
We're tackling a chapter
Okay.
that's really unlike anything I've read before.
Oh, is that right?
It's like part bizarre fever dream, part philosophical puzzle.
Interesting combination.
I know, right? All wrapped up in this style that I'd say is unique at best.
So walk me through this. What kind of unique are we talking about here?
Well, how about a chapter that throws characters into another realm?
Okay, the Netherrealm. That's promising.
Right. And then just casually name drops Ryan Seacrest.
Ryan Seacrest. Is he like a god in this world or something?
Well, he's treated with a certain reverence, that's for sure.
Okay, so we've got a bizarre setting and a Ryan Seacrest cameo.
Yeah, and that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Sounds like the author's having a bit of fun.
Yeah, it's definitely a deliberate choice to play with familiar concepts and figures, but twisting them into something totally unexpected.
I suppose that's one way to grab a reader's attention.
Right. Like, question our assumptions about storytelling.
And what's considered normal.
Yeah, exactly.
So who are these characters navigating this Ryan Seacrest-infused Netherrealm?
Okay, so we have Wucie, the main character.
Wucie. All right, I'm intrigued already.
You know, he finds himself in this Netherrealm, which sounds more like a metal band than a setting for philosophy.
I can see that.
But here we are.
Okay, so what happens to him there, this Wucie?
Well, first of all, he's undergone, let's say, a physical transformation.
Good.
He lost his wongus, as the text so delicately puts it.
The author doesn't shy away from the details.
Definitely not.
So Wucie's lost his wongus. What else?
And he's landed in this gender-neutral state.
A gender-neutral state in the Netherrealm. It's getting weirder by the minute.
Right, and it's not just the physical changes that are jarring. He's thrown into this totally strange culture.
Like what?
Within the Netherrealm, he runs into the Moonspeak people.
Moonspeak people.
Yeah, and their, shall we say, interesting customs. At a place called, wait for it, the Gooey Titty Shop.
The Gooey Titty Shop. You can't make this stuff up.
Oh, I assure you, this is straight from the source material.
So what's the deal with this Gooey Titty Shop?
It seems like this whole culture revolves around, you know, lactating women and reactions to certain body parts.
Now that's a unique cultural focus.
Pushing boundaries, for sure.
What do you think the author's trying to say with all this?
Well, it's certainly provocative.
Right.
I mean, is it a satire of cultural taboos around bodies and sexuality?
It could be.
Or is there something deeper going on here, some commentary on, I don't know, societal anxieties about gender and identity?
Yeah, and then there's this whole incident with Chow Mao and these moon women.
Okay.
They end up, get this, laughing themselves to death.
Literally.
Literally.
That's quite an image.
Oh, it's over the top for sure.
So over the top.
It makes you wonder, right? What's the author getting at?
Is it just shock value or?
Yeah. Is there a deeper message there about how we deal with or don't deal with these sensitive topics?
There's a lot to unpack.
A lot to unpack, indeed.
And just when you think you have a handle on things, Guevara shows up.
Guevara, as in Chewbacca's buddy.
The one and only.
Okay, so we've gone from Ryan Seacrest to lactating moon women to Chewbacca's best friend.
Yep. And he's not here for a friendly visit.
Oh. What's his role in this story?
He's the enforcer.
The enforcer. What does he enforce exactly?
The rules of the Netherrealm, of course.
I see. And what rules would those be?
Well, it turns out transitioning for fame and fortune is a big no-no in this universe.
So is that what Wucie did?
Apparently so.
That's interesting.
And the way Guevara explains it,
how's that?
he drops a real bombshell.
A bombshell.
He reveals that he used to be.
Who was he before he was Guevara?
Wait for it. CNN reporter Don Lemon.
Don Lemon, seriously?
I know, it's wild.
So Don Lemon is now a Wookiee enforcer in the Netherrealm.
It's like the author is winking at the audience.
I can see that.
Like, hey, look who's enforcing the rules now.
And it gets even weirder.
Oh, it does?
Because Guevara, formerly Don Lemon, tells Wucie that he has to go find his lost. No, well, you know.
His wongus, the one he lost earlier.
Right. So now, former CNN anchor Don Lemon, as a Wookiee, is telling someone to go find their missing body part.
You got it.
This is definitely not your average book chapter.
Not even close.
It's like the author took all these disparate elements, pop culture, current events, sci-fi tropes, threw them in a blender and hit puree.
Exactly.
And somehow it works.
In a strange, thought-provoking way.
It's like a chaotic symphony of ideas.
I like that.
A lot of noise, but there's a definite rhythm to it.
It makes you think.
And maybe even laugh a little.
Definitely a few laugh-out-loud moments in there.
So where do we go from here? What other absurdities await us in this fascinating chapter?
Well, just as you think you've got a handle on things, the chapter throws a curveball.
Curveball, huh?
It's called the interlude section.
The interlude.
And suddenly we're bombarded with internet slang, surreal poems, and a BuzzFeed-style listicle about social anxiety.
It's a tonal shift.
It's like whiplash.
You go from cosmic pronouncements and missing body parts to tips on how to survive a party.
I know, right?
Like the author is saying, hey, pay attention. This is about more than just Wucie's journey.
What do you make of this sudden injection of modern anxieties into this otherworldly narrative?
It's interesting, isn't it? It's like they're saying that even in a world with Netherrealms and talking gabakas, we're still all just worried about fitting in.
It's a strange juxtaposition.
It is, but it's also strangely relatable.
I mean, who hasn't felt that kind of social awkwardness?
Exactly.
That sense of not quite belonging.
It's a universal experience.
And maybe that's why it feels so jarring.
We're not expecting to find it in this outlandish setting.
Yeah, but there it is, right in the middle of the chapter.
The author reminding us that no matter how strange things get, we're all still human.
Still dealing with the same anxieties and insecurities.
It's a grounding element in this otherwise chaotic narrative.
It's almost like a reminder that even in the face of the absurd, there's still a common thread that connects us all.
Exactly. It's the human experience in all its messy glory.
And speaking of messy glory, we should probably talk about Luger Foucault.
Luger Foucault? Who is that?
Oh, he's a new character.
All right.
And his story takes us on a whole other kind of adventure.
So what's Luger all about?
Well, he's eternally virginal.
Eternally virginal.
And completely obsessed with a woman named Donna Mae Krautwurst.
Donna Mae Krautwurst. What a name!
And his attempts to, let's say, woo her are both hilarious and kind of cringeworthy.
Sounds intriguing. So Luger's story is a separate thread from Wucie's.
It seems that way, yeah.
But I have a feeling the author is going to weave them together somehow.
Oh, I'm sure of it.
It'll be interesting to see how it all plays out.
Definitely. And speaking of playing out, I think we should take a closer look at Luger's misadventures next time.
Misadventures is an understatement, I bet.
They might just hold the key to understanding what this whole chapter is really about.
I'm all ears.
Okay, so next time, we're diving into the world of Luger Foucault.
Can't wait.
And see what kind of chaos he brings to the table.
Sounds like a plan. This deep dive is getting more and more intriguing by the minute.
Buckle up.
I'm buckled.
Because it's only going to get wilder from here.
Bring it on.
Okay, so last time we left off with Luger Foucault.
Ah, yes.
This eternally virginal dude, totally fixated on Donna Mae Krautwurst.
Right, Donna Mae. Quite a name.
Yeah. The author seems to have a knack for memorable names.
It seems that way.
Anyway, his whole getting ready for a romantic encounter scene.
Yeah.
It's like a car crash you can't look away from.
Hilarious and cringeworthy at the same time.
Exactly. So what's your take on all that?
Well, it's certainly a bold introduction to the character.
Yeah, he definitely makes an impression.
The author's playing with these stereotypes of male inexperience
Mm-hmm.
and insecurity. Right. Like blowing them up to this almost comical level.
It's over the top, but somehow it works.
Yeah, there's a certain poignancy to it as well.
Poignancy.
Underneath the humor, there's this observation about societal expectations around masculinity.
Oh, I see what you mean.
How they can lead to these anxieties and misconceptions.
It's like he has this whole script in his head.
About how things are supposed to go.
Exactly. But it's based on, I don't know, bad advice. Porn.
Probably a bit of everything.
The point is, he's clueless about female anatomy.
And his attempts to, prepare for his date with Donna Mae.
Oh, man.
They're just disastrously funny.
It's like watching a train wreck in slow motion.
It's almost like the author's saying, here's what happens when you rely on preconceived notions instead of, actual knowledge and communication.
Yeah, communication. That seems to be a recurring theme here.
It does, doesn't it?
Luger's misadventures. It's like a cautionary tale.
A cautionary tale.
About the dangers of assuming you know what you're doing when you're totally lost.
Stumbling around in the dark, so to speak.
Exactly. And the pinnacle of his cluelessness, the grand finale of awkwardness.
It has to be.
The Reno Station Gay Bisexual Orgy Society meeting.
Oh, the Orgy Society.
How does anyone end up there accidentally?
It's a testament to the power of miscommunication.
And misinterpretation, right?
Absolutely. Luger's just not picking up on the social cues.
He jumps to conclusions.
It's a recipe for disaster.
A comedic disaster, but a disaster nonetheless.
And it all leads him down this path of increasingly absurd misunderstandings.
That's a good point,
Sometimes what we see isn't the whole picture.
Yeah.
And our assumptions can lead us way off course.
It's a good reminder for us all.
To be open to different perspectives.
And to, maybe double check our assumptions before we stumble into an orgy.
Especially before stumbling into an orgy.
Exactly. It's also a clever way to poke fun at societal norms, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely.
Like those rigid expectations about masculinity.
Putting Luger, this embodiment of awkward masculinity, in that situation.
It's subversive.
The author's highlighting the absurdity of trying to fit everyone into these neat little boxes.
It's a celebration of individuality, in a way.
It is. It's a reminder that human experience is diverse and complex.
And trying to force it into these categories just leads to confusion.
Confusion, misunderstanding.
And maybe even a few accidental orgy encounters.
Right. Luger's misadventures, they're uncomfortable for him, sure.
But they're a valuable lesson for all of us.
A lesson delivered with a healthy dose of humor.
So, we've got Wucie on his quest, Luger on his misadventures, and then the chapter throws us into a whole new dimension.
A new dimension. Literally.
Literally. We're talking about the hypersphere.
The hypersphere.
It makes the Netherrealm look like, a playground.
So how do we even begin to wrap our heads around the hypersphere?
It's described as, get this, a human being stretched to the size of, your mother?
My mother. That's a interesting unit of measurement.
Right, and then multiply that by the size of several quasars.
Quasars. We're talking cosmic scale here.
Cosmic is an understatement. It's mind-boggling.
It is. But the author manages to ground this vastness in this very specific image. Your mother.
It's a strange juxtaposition.
It is. It's like they're trying to bridge the gap between the incomprehensible and the familiar.
And they do it with humor.
And a touch of the absurd.
It's effective, I'll give them that.
It definitely grabs your attention.
And then, of course, there's Donald Trump's identical twin.
Donald Trump's twin? What's he doing in the hypersphere?
Apparently, he's turned it into some kind of cosmic playground.
A playground for who?
Interdimensional beings, I guess.
Interdimensional beings playing on a playground created by Donald Trump's twin.
It's like the author threw a dart at a board of random ideas.
And somehow it landed on the most bizarre combination possible.
But it works.
It does, in a strange way.
It's like a commentary on the cult of personality.
The commodification of everything.
Even something as vast and abstract as the hypersphere.
Nothing is sacred.
Right. And the fact that it's Trump's twin, this figure associated with wealth and showmanship.
It just amplifies that critique.
Like no matter how far out you go, how big or complex things get.
There's always going to be someone trying to slap a logo on it and sell it.
It's a cynical, but maybe accurate view of the world.
And then there's the fact that the hypersphere is now a children's toy.
Right. It's like the ultimate commodification.
The infantilization of culture.
Even the most profound concepts reduced to easily digestible entertainment.
It's thought-provoking, for sure.
So we've gone from these personal struggles of Wucie and Luger
to this vast cosmic landscape rolled by Donald Trump's twin.
Yeah, it's a wild ride.
Do you see any connections between these narratives?
It's hard to say.
They seem completely disconnected on the surface.
But maybe that's the point.
Maybe the author's trying to show us the absurdity of searching for a single unifying narrative.
In a world that's increasingly fragmented.
And chaotic.
So instead of searching for a neat conclusion,
we should embrace the chaos.
See where it takes us.
That's an intriguing thought.
It's like the whole point of this chapter.
Yeah.
Embracing the unexpected, the bizarre, the uncomfortable.
The author is challenging us to let go of our need for order and certainty.
And just experience the ride.
A ride through the Netherrealm, the hypersphere, and all the strange spaces in between.
It's been a wild ride so far.
And I have a feeling it's not over yet.
Okay, so we've made it.
To the other side of this wild chapter.
From the Netherrealm to the hypersphere.
Yeah, we've seen it all.
Lost body parts, social anxiety listicles.
And a cosmic Donald Trump twin.
It's been a trip.
A real head-scratcher.
So where do we even begin to unpack all this?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
What's the overarching message here?
Is there even one?
I mean, it's tempting to try and tie it all together, right?
Find that neat little bow.
But I almost feel like
yeah,
that's missing the point.
I think you might be right.
The beauty of this piece, this whole chapter,
yeah,
it's in its refusal to give us easy answers.
The author just throws all these elements at us, these seemingly disparate elements.
And it's like, figure it out.
Exactly. Here is a funhouse mirror reflection of your world, your anxieties, your desires.
And we're left to make sense of it.
And in the process, we're forced to question everything.
Right. Like, what is identity anyway?
How do we navigate these social pressures?
What happens when the boundaries of reality get all blurred?
Big questions.
No easy answers.
And the chapter doesn't pretend to have them.
Yeah, it just throws us headfirst into this world.
Where everything's distorted and subverted.
Wucie's searching for his wongus in this realm where gender norms are completely flipped.
Right. And Luger Foucault, this walking embodiment of male insecurity.
He's just stumbling through all these absurd misunderstandings.
And then there's the hypersphere.
This vast, incomprehensible space.
Commodified and turned into a cosmic playground.
It's almost overwhelming.
It is, but if you look closely, each of these storylines, as disconnected as they seem, they all touch on these themes of identity, societal expectations.
The human struggle to make sense of it all.
To make sense of a world that often feels chaotic and nonsensical.
It's like the author saying life is weird, people are weird.
And sometimes the best way to deal with it
is to just embrace the absurdity.
Exactly. And by exaggerating these elements
to this comical level,
the author creates a space where we can laugh at our own anxiety.
Yeah, question our assumptions.
And maybe even find a bit of liberation in the realization that we don't have all the answers.
It's freeing, in a way.
It is. It's a reminder that it's okay to not know everything.
To embrace the mystery.
To be comfortable with the unknown.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I'm left with more questions than answers.
But that's not necessarily a bad thing, is it?
No, not at all.
Sometimes the most valuable takeaways from a piece of writing are the questions it makes us ask ourselves.
So to everyone listening out there,
we leave you with this question.
What did this chapter mean to you?
Did you find any hidden meanings?
Or did you just enjoy the ride?
Whatever your experience was, we hope this deep dive has encouraged you to think critically.
To question what you think you know.
And to embrace the beautiful absurdity of it all.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning.
And remember,
sometimes the most profound insights
come from the most unexpected places.
And on that note, we'll see you next time for another deep dive.
Until then.